Come, come, whoever you are welcome here. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you are welcome here. No matter your gender, whom you love, how you speak, or whatever your abilities, you are welcome here. You are welcome here whether you come with laughter in your heart or tears in your eyes. You are welcome here. No matter what you have experienced in the past, no matter what awaits you in the future, you are welcome here. Whether you believe in God all of the time, some of the time, or none of the time, you are welcome here. This is a community of open minds, loving hearts, and willing hands. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Lindsay, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am a tall woman with brownish hair and a white blazer, and I will be the worship associate at this morning's service. Thank you all for coming, even though many of us were here, about 12 hours ago. Our beloved Reverend Lora is here after her sabbatical, and we're glad to have her back.
Please remain standing for the lighting of our chalice. I'd like to invite Sage to come forward. As we light our chalice, the symbol of our faith and the light of our commitments to love and justice, let us breathe together in a moment of solidarity. If you are in our at-home audience, you're invited to light your personal chalice and enter in the name of your street and announce that their chalice is lit so that our light extends beyond just these walls. Please all join me now in our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action, and the flames of resistance. You may be seated. Okay, it is not officially the first Sunday in November, but it's the second Sunday in November, and since we didn't get to do our birthday blessing, it's time to do a birthday blessing. So if you have a birthday in November, please come on forward. All right, so on behalf of this congregation, receive now this blessing for the following year. May this year be one of the wildest adventures full of joy and growth and learning. And may you, when you find it is a rainy day or it feels like it's really rough, may you be reminded that this community has got your back. We are so glad that you were born, and we are delighted to have you be part of our community. Happy birthday, and happy birthday. And we have a sticker for you, those of you who are here. So, yep, all right, great. Let's sing our children down to their classes.
This community, our church, and its many ministries are only made possible by the gifts that you give of your time, your talent, and your treasure. Many of you pledge monthly to support our work, and we are grateful. Your gifts help to ensure that we are able to live our values of love and justice in the world outside. It is our custom to share half of our offering with an organization that aligns with our values. This month, we are giving to Showers of Hope, an organization that provides people who are unhoused with showers, haircuts, and meals, as well as addiction recovery mentoring and mental health support. I am pleased to invite Renee Shaw from the Showers of Hope to share with us about the work they do in our community for our unhoused neighbors.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I love that we can all come together from different religions and find the basics that we all believe in, which is loving one another and taking care of our neighbors. I grew up in a small town here in Utah where I was taught at an early age to serve the least of these. And I've looked around throughout my whole life. Who are the least of these? These are the people in the tents with a foot of snow on top of their tent, trying to live through the winter. These are the people on the streets that have huge sores on their feet. And I've often wondered, how can I help? When the idea of giving them showers came across my mind, I had, those God bumps all over my body, and I knew this was my calling. And I started with a tent. I called my sister and I'm like, hey, I need a truck. So it was one little thing at a time, people coming together and helping, angels coming together and make this happen. So we bought a truck together, and then we had a water tank on the back of the truck and showered the people in a tent. Then it grew to a camper, an old camper we painted and retrofitted, and I called out and volunteers just showed up. And I was thinking, God, how am I gonna wash all these towels? I don't know, what are we gonna do? Well, I asked God for angels, and I've had to only do maybe 2 loads of towels since we started around 2 years ago. Well, 1.5 years ago, because the towel angel would show up. So all these angels showed up to make this happen, and I'm so grateful to my higher power for sending all those angels, because I would be very burnt out. The biggest challenge has been, and inspiration has been, getting to know these people. Most of them have come from some huge trauma in their lives that have made them somewhat dysfunctional, and they have just had no abilities to get back on their feet. And the traumas that I hear about are just wild, like their houses burned down and their friends and family burned with them and things like that, where they just weren't able to function and get back on their feet for a while. And I've learned the biggest way I've grown is having no judgment. even for the people who are doing drugs, even for the people who are stealing. I have absolutely learned. I still once in a while get irritated when my paints get stolen when I go there, but for the most part, it's just been a huge growing experience for me and the other volunteers that are with us. And this would not happen with volunteers and angels coming and supporting us. In fact, that we are needing more volunteers because we want to expand. It's an all-volunteer organization, even me. I'm kind of retired, so that's now my new job. And so we really appreciate all the angels that show up. So if you feel like an angel showing up, we would really appreciate it. And I'd also like to thank you all for voting. I guess that you vote, and thank you for voting for us, to support us, so that we can continue to give clean underwear. We use the funds for clean underwear, for gas, for food, for whatever else extras we need. And so it really, really helps. Who wants to put on dirty, and we give out clean clothes as well. So anytime you have, especially men's clothes, we have a lot more men that are homeless than women. So any warm clothes would be very helpful. I'm not sure if I'm past my 3 minutes, but anyway, so I have flyers. You're welcome to come and get a card or a flyer after. And again, we really appreciate your help with this. And God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Renee. It's interesting to hear about the work that we help with, and I think that makes it more meaningful for us. So let us now take up an offering for the ministries of this congregation. And please join me in reading our offertory words. They are printed in your order of service. We will now accept the offering. For those at home, you are invited to use the giving link in the online order of service. I invite the ushers to come forward at this time.
For all we have found the courage to give, may we be truly grateful. May these gifts be a blessing on South Valley and on the life-saving work of Showers of Hope.
Okay, today I'm going to guide you all through a meditation. If you wouldn't mind closing your eyes and taking a deep inhale through your nose and a long exhale through your mouth. As you breathe in again, focus on how the breath expands through your chest and your belly, trying to elongate that breath as long as possible before again exhaling through your mouth. As you slowly breathe, bring your focus to your toes and how they're rooted in the earth. And then shift the focus to your feet, the bottoms of your feet, your ankles. Bring your focus to your calves and your knees, your thighs, and then your hips. Focus on your fingertips, the palms of your hands, your wrists, your forearms, your elbows, your upper arms, and then return the focus to your chest and the inhale and exhale of your breath. See if you can make your breath longer, slower. Exhaling again through your mouth. Bring the focus up to your neck, your chin, your cheeks, your eyes, and then your mind. And slowly open your eyes. And we will now have a sermon by Reverend Lora.
Thank you, Lindsay. According to the author, David Silverman, in his book, This Land is Their Land, the Wampanoag Indians, Plymouth Colony, and the Troubled History of Thanksgiving, the myth of Thanksgiving goes like this, quote, "Friendly Indians, unidentified by tribe, welcome the pilgrims to America, teach them how to live in this new place, sit down to dinner with them, and then disappear. They hand off America to white people so they can create a great nation dedicated to liberty, opportunity, and Christianity for the rest of the world to profit. That's the story. It's about Native people conceding to colonialism. It's bloodless and in many ways an extension of the ideology of manifest destiny." Most of us were taught a narrative about the first Thanksgiving. And we acted it out in our elementary school classrooms with a pageant. We had great craft projects of cutting out turkeys shaped like our hands. There was perhaps pumpkin pie with whipped cream for snack that day. And we thought it was great fun. Most of us, as adults, know that there's a very wide gap between that myth and what we were taught and the reality of the settler pilgrims' arrival in the 1620s. For while there is evidence of a harvest meal between the pilgrim settlers and the Wampanoag in the fall of 1621, it was a single event rather than the start of a national tradition. And in fact, Thanksgiving as we now know it was only established as a holiday during the Civil War by Abraham Lincoln. And even then, it took a while to catch on. And this idea that we would have the Thursday in November off from work, well, workers weren't able to get time off from work until the middle of the 20th century. So it's very easy to believe that things have always been a certain way because they have been a certain way for a certain period of time. But like most human stories, the truth is far more nuanced and complex. There is no halcyon past, and there is no utopian future that we will someday arrive to. There is only this time and our collective efforts as a population living on these lands that belonged to the very diverse group of people who are living here, the indigenous tribes, considered to be at least 1 million, perhaps 3 million people already living in this land when the Europeans began to arrive. It was a full and vibrant society, and it was destroyed. Well, nearly destroyed. And this myth is part of it. And the myth lives on because it helps us to deal on some level with the difficulty of our past. And it helps to keep the powers that are in charge satisfied and in their places of power. This myth covers the reality of centuries of genocide, the intentional destruction of the cities and towns, the democratic systems of governance, the trading routes, the peace treaties, the diverse religious and cultural traditions, the advanced farming techniques, and the grassland and forest management programs adapted and refined by the people living here for millennia in North America. It's messy, and it's very uncomfortable to grapple with the reality of cultural genocide that's nestled right into the stories of the origin upon which the national identity that we live in and our sense of belonging are connected to. It's natural to feel resistance at first to the true narrative, because when we take the time to face the reality of genocide that happened right here and continues to happen, we feel things. We feel things. Uncomfortable, difficult things. Perhaps anger, guilt, confusion, shame, upset, churn, turmoil, all the sorts of things that make us want to turn away from those realities. But my friends, turning away from those realities is what gets us to where we are right now, in a battle for our lives, for the soul of this nation. And it begins with the types of stories we refuse to tell and the types of stories that we have the courage to lift up and to share. As a nation, we are struggling mightily with truth right now, and it's causing a lot of churn for all of us. After decades of opening up the national story, and not because people wanted to open the national story, because advocates, writers, artists, theologians, philosophers, political activists, many of them from marginalized and oppressed communities insisted that their voices and their stories be heard. After decades and decades of making reasonable progress, I don't know, it's always a mixed bag, right? We're now experiencing a tremendous backlash. And it's tough to be out there right now. Many of us are also, in addition to feeling guilt and strain, are feeling a sense of betrayal. Betrayal from the work that we worked so hard to accomplish. The backlash would have us believe that the truth tellers of our nation, the theologians, the activists, are merely sharing their opinions, and that we are actually in the minority in fighting for truth and justice. But that's part of their myth. We know We know that human thriving is a collective endeavor, not an individual one. And our history, both personally and collectively as a faith movement and as people who have lived on this land and are trying to find a way through to reconcile, know that including Indigenous people has always been part of the solution. The reality is that Indigenous people have always been here. They remain here. They have survived genocide here, and they are still working to bring about a change for the better. The truth is, we must continue to make space, to widen that circle so that everyone's voices can be heard. I want to take a moment just to name the anxiety and the stress that is part of our world right now, and to remind you that it is a spiritual practice in and of itself to come to worship on a Sunday morning, to remind yourself that you are not alone and that we don't have to do this. We ought not to do it, in fact, alone. Because those feelings can be overwhelming. How many of you have ever had an overwhelming feeling? How many of you have ever had multiple overwhelming feelings stacked up, one after another? Now hear this. Each and every feeling biologically, it only can last chemically for about 90 seconds. That's it. And then it passes. Doesn't mean that you can't put a whole bunch of 90 seconds together all at once and get yourself really worked up. But actually, biologically, emotions only last 90 seconds. And that's good news, because it reminds us that your emotions are not you. And if you want to expand that, in addition to coming to church on Sundays, because I'm always a fan of that, because I love to see you, you might consider bringing in more spiritual practices, things like meditation, prayer, music, therapy, all sorts of somatic practices, walking therapies. All of these things can help you to regulate your system, to get some space around and in between those 90-second bursts of chemical emotion, and to calm your system. It's kind of like a magic tool for activists, a magic tool that will allow us to build not only our own resilience, but to be able to pass it on and share it with those around us. How many of you have ever been calmed down by someone saying, just calm down? Now, how many of you have been in the presence of a calm person and felt reassured and calmed down? Our emotions are contagious. And we can choose whether or not we contagion each other with anxiety and despair, or we infect each other with resilience, courage, and hope. Spiritual practices are not for the easy times, right? We practice them in the easy times, so when the tough times come, we have something to turn to. So engaging in that work, building a spiritual practice, coming to church, can then be linked with political and public advocacy and real care for people who are being the most impacted. And when you do all of those things, not only are you building your personal resilience, you're uplifting other people so that they can then uplift others. And so it goes on and on and on. As Renee was saying, when we serve the least of these, we are the ones that are served as well. So back to this Thanksgiving story, I want to allude and expand your understanding of what actually happened in that time period. So in the late 16 teens, 1615s, 1618, there was an epidemic that worked its way up and down the eastern seaboard. And it was probably spread by English fishermen who'd been fishing off the coast of North America for many decades. And it wiped out between 90 and 95% of the people living on the coast. 90 to 95% of the people died. So when the Pilgrim settlers arrived to the New England area, they found a land that was already in great shape. The land was cleared, there were spaces for villages, and there was nobody around. Like walking into an empty house. The Pilgrim settlers arrived and they were met by the lone survivor of this village, Tisquantum, of the Paxatet tribe. And he greeted them in English, which surprised them because they were not aware that there could be English-speaking people in North America at that time. But the truth of his story is that he had earlier been kidnapped and enslaved and brought to England. He'd spent about 9 years in England, and then he had escaped and convinced a ship captain to bring him back to North America. But when he arrived, he found that his entire village was gone. So he greeted them, and then the winter came. And the winter of 1620 to 21 was extremely difficult. Many of the Pilgrim settlers died, and most were starving. Tisquantum helped them to negotiate a treaty with the Wampanoag tribe, and both he and the Wampanoag tribe assisted the settlers with spring planting that year. And luckily, there was a good harvest. And the settlers decided to hold a 3-day feast of Thanksgiving in celebration. But they didn't invite the others. The others, the tribe and Tisquantum, only learned about this celebration because the settlers were popping off their guns, an early sign of what was to come in the United States, I'm sure. The warriors of the Wampanoag tribe were alarmed, and so they got on all their battle gear and rushed over to the village to provide aid because they were in an alliance with the settlers. And only then did they discover that there was a drunken festival happening here. And once they were reassured that no threat was imminent, they were invited to stay. Allowed to stay, who knows? I really do wonder what those tribal leaders thought about the misuse of precious ammunition for celebratory purposes. And that is what happened, as far as our historians can tell. There was no harvest festival the next year. In fact, harvest festivals were not a common thing necessarily on a regular basis. I mean, we have lots of evidence of cultures all over the world having harvest festivals, but this idea that somehow this was the, beginning event of some tradition that would then become what we now know as Thanksgiving Day, the day before Black Friday, is really, truly a myth. And those myths are really powerful. Not only do they give us ways to connect with one another, they give us ways to begin to understand where the truth-telling must be inserted. This myth had a powerful grip by the mid-1800s on Americans. And their artists and musicians and poets produced a lot of artwork, mythologizing this first Thanksgiving as a way to deal with the difficult emotions that were resulting from the knowledge of the ongoing genocide. Because the genocide was not a secret. Everybody knew what was happening. Everybody knew. Just like we all know right now what is happening. Everyone knew. Everyone knew. Just like now, sometimes it seems impossible to combat, they also felt like it was impossible. It took a long time for abolitionists and the suffragettes and the other civil rights activists and the Native American advocates for treaties that would actually be kept. It took them a long time, not only to advocate for a more fair and just system, but to find one another and to collaborate. And we are where we are now because of that collaboration. The only progress that we have made is directly resulting from the fact that we did find one another and we did work together, and that we continue to work together to make something of this dream called the American dream here in this United States. Never a perfect dream, maybe not even one that feels appropriate anymore as we look at the cultural genocide of Native Americans, but one that is ours and that we can work with as we move forward. To sort of fast forward to this present moment, I want to just hold up again this image that in the 1700s and 1800s, there was deep knowledge of the harms being perpetuated against Native peoples. And there was an acknowledgement that it was a systematic disenfranchisement of Native peoples, in addition to, of course, the disenfranchisement of Black and brown people and of women and of anyone that dared not to fit within a gender binary. Just like right now, we live in a world where it seems like the progress that we have made for women's rights, for LGBTQ rights, for fair housing rights, for fair voting rights, for recognition of harms, we know what the reality is that we are up against. And I'd like to suggest that despite the narrative that is active on some parts of the nation, right, that somehow we are better off with billionaires in charge, that in fact we know the truth, that we are not better off with billionaires and their bullies being in charge. The truth is that our collective power, whether we remember it or not on a given basis, whether or not we feel like we have it, is always with us. It's always available to us. There is no one or no thing that can ever actually take it away. But the reality is also that you can't do it by yourself, because collective power is collective. And trying to believe in a hero or in some mythical hero or some mythical story that will come and save us all is just another symptom of being caught up in a story that is meant to keep you separated and in despair. Unitarian Universalists have been fiercely committed to collective liberation. It's there in our first principle, our belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all people. Because we know that when we respect and honor and build up that, then we can get connected to one another. There is no waiting for a hero to show up. I know there was an interesting election earlier this week, and it seemed like maybe there's a blue wave that's happening and some really interesting people got elected. But let's be sure that we don't fall trap to believing that they are here to save us. We must do it ourselves, certainly in collaboration with like-minded people. But there is no hero that is going to deliver us from here to there, from here to utopia. And that's been known for many, many millennia. It's at the heart of that fishes and loaves story in the Gospels. Jesus said to his disciples, "You go feed them yourselves." People often skip over that part of that parable. They focus on the miracle part at the end. But when the disciples first come to Jesus and say, "Oh my God, Jesus, we have 5,000 people gathered to hear you speak, and we have but 5 loaves and 5 fishes. And he's like, "So? What are we supposed to do? We don't have the money," he says. They say. He says, "Go feed them yourselves, for Christ's sake." And then they flailed around, and then Jesus was like, "Okay, fine." With the proverbial roll to the heavens, he was like, "Okay, fine, I'll fix it. I did a miracle. There you go." But miracles are really hard to rely on when people are hungry, right? Because miracles don't fill the belly with a good, warm meal. But you know what does? people showing up and sharing from what they have, from people showing up and collecting together to make a solution. The gospel is really clear, and it's only in the last few millennia that sort of these stories of myths and miracles have gotten layered on and elevated. The people who originally participated in those communities, they knew it was up to them because they were living in the Roman Empire, which was not known for its kind and generous, food programs. And neither is our country, apparently, right now. We can escape the terrible narrative that we find ourselves being confronted with right now if we turn towards each other and we collectively remember and reunite our embrace of power. Because it's not just that we have to rebalance the scales. We actually have to take back the full measure of power that belongs to us collectively as a people. The billionaires would like you to believe that their high concentrations of power makes them more dignified and more worthy than you. But for anyone who's ever read a book, maybe The Great Gatsby comes to mind this week, we know that high concentrations of power never result in a sustained human thriving. They are always our downfall. So perhaps we need to worry a little bit less about the billionaires and focus a little bit more on ourselves and what we can and are doing as a congregation. And if you need a little reminder about what we've already been up to, let me just alert you to some of the things that we're up to. For a long time, we have served meals at the Volunteers of America Youth Homeless Shelter. We've collected food and clothing supplies for families in need. We're a participant in the Great Celery Contest over the summer, where we collect foods. Yes, the Golden Celery Project. We have a collaboration with an organization here that works on immigration, that gives cash support to people who are in the detention system and helps their family with consultations for lawyers and helps pay for food and rent. And in a few weeks, we're going to be launching a weekly food collection here on Sundays to help supply local food pantries that are running desperately low on supplies. That's just the things that we're doing now. And this congregation has been doing many things. In fact, our denomination has been doing many things for many years. That's why we are known as the people of love, the people who show up. Starting in 1970, following decades of advocacy, our Unitarian Universal Association demonstrated a growing awareness and commitment to right the wrongs of the past through truth-telling and relationship building with Indigenous nations. In 2012 and in 2016, two business resolutions were passed, committing ourselves to education, reflection, healing, and truth-telling. And part of the impetus for that, by the way, is the fact that our denomination rose out of that Pilgrim Puritan tradition, and some of our founding churches and members trace their lineage to the Mayflower. So the work is ours, by extension, to do. And here more locally, Reverend Patty Willis was a strong advocate and promoted a greater expansion of understanding within this congregation and in the Utah Valley around the needs and I'm sorry, I'm losing my words. It was a long night last night. The needs, concerns, and the demands, frankly, for good treatment by the tribes that still remain in this area. And in 2016, she traveled to Standing Rock when the call for religious leaders to join in solidarity was made. That is work that we can rest on as a congregation as we prepare to do the next set of things. In 2024, after a series of discernment conversations between leadership and staff about what meaningful efforts could be undertaken to further align ourselves with Indigenous peoples' calls for justice, we decided that going forward, we would dedicate 10% of all facility use fees as a donation to Native American nonprofits locally, Most of you don't know that. But we do that every December. We calculate up 10% of our building use fees and our rental. It's two different categories. I know, Mac, it's two different categories. It's rental in the front, facility use in the back. And last year we donated just shy of $1,200 to a local organization. So this is us. This is us discerning and setting our feet deeply into the ground and figuring out, what does it take for us to be collectively powerful? And then we do it. We're an activist congregation, and I say that with deep pride. We are an activist congregation, committed to the radical idea that every single person has worth and dignity, and that our liberation is collective, not individual. May we continue to live into the stories of the past that encourage us to be brighter, stronger advocates. May we be encouraged to keep telling the truth, even when it hurts. Let's keep going. It's the better plan anyway, right? We already know the touchstones. It's right here in our chalice lighting and extinguishing words we recite each week. Our touchstones are the warmth of community, the light of truth, the energy of action, and the flames of resistance. Let's keep going. Will you join me? And if we do, may we be a blessing and a beacon in this valley and beyond. Amen.
In singing the journey.
Please rise as you are willing and able in body, mind, and spirit. Maybe shake it out, because this is a big hymn.
Please remain standing as you wish for the extinguishing of the chalice and join us in our actions as we extinguish it. The words are in your order of service, and you are invited to say them out loud with me.
Beloveds, I encourage you just to sort of gather your energy into your heart. If you feel like reaching out and holding hands, that's great. Or just bring your hands over your heart and just know you are the ones I've been waiting for. And I am so blessed to be among you. And each of you, as you look around, I encourage you to notice that you are also the ones that you've been waiting for. This is a place of deep friendship and kindness. Let us make that our mission as we go forth this week, to spread kindness and friendship to all we encounter, as we encourage one another to be full of dignity, vested with power, and worthy of the love that outshines all the mystery. May you be blessed, and may it be so. Please be seated for our postlude.